mind of the champion is your three brains. Kind of an interesting concept. So this was something that was shared to me by a fellow by the name of Glenn Albaugh, who's been my mentor in the sports psychology field, and I've had the privilege of being able to work with a number of professionals on the PGA Tour with him. And this is some of the concepts that I've learned from him. And when I heard it, the first time I heard it, I went, wow, brilliant. Makes so much sense to me. When we play golf, when we do almost anything, we really have three minds that we operate in. And we kind of operate in these three minds in different parts of the process all the time. In other words, we use all three of our minds all the time when we're out there on the golf course. So the first one, the front part of the mind, is the rational mind. So if you take a look at that guy, that little image, then what you'll see on the front part of this is the rational mind, right? The rational mind is the mind that understands concepts, it understands ideas, it processes thoughts. It's the newest part of our brain. It's in the neocortex. So it's the one that understands ideas. When you're playing golf, the rational mind is the mind that figures out the situation, analyzes the tactical situation, how far away am I, what's the wind, what do the conditions look like. It's the part that develops a strategy. So there's definitely a place out there for the rational mind to play a part in the golf game. Okay? The rational mind is also the mind that takes your golf swing and breaks it down into little tiny components, like hold my weight steady, low and slow, up here, club parallel, arm in this position. Well, that doesn't look very smooth though, does it? And the interesting thing is, that's the way the rational mind works when it tries to interact with your body motions. Because the oldest part of our brain is right down here, is called the mind of imagination. That's actually the mind in the cerebellum area that controls our day-to-day motions, our activities, automatically for us. That's the oldest part of our brain. And it basically has been around a lot longer than the front part of our brain. It doesn't need a lot of help from the front part of our brain. It actually knows what to do pretty well. Most of the time what we find is we're much better off if we let the old part of our brain take over and do motions naturally. But when we learn something, and when you learn a new skill, like when we work on our golf swings, you're learning some new concepts. So the front part of your brain is pretty busy trying to process all of that, trying to integrate all of that in. But that part of your brain is not in charge of your motor control. So it's over there saying, okay, you got to go outside now, not inside. So it's sending those instructions to your body, to your cerebellum, and cerebellum's going, hey, wait, I've been doing this a long time. What are you giving me instructions? So it has to check back and forth to make sure. Are you sure that's what you want? Yeah, that's what I want to do. Yeah, and by then it's already it's already too late, isn't it? It's already kind of happening. So there's kind of a little bit of a delay, and that's why when we operate out on the golf course, in the technical part of our mind, in the rational part of our mind, in the thinking part of our mind, we don't look very smooth. Does that make sense? How many times have you been out there on the golf course and you get up here and you go, I am completely off plane right up here. Right? That's kind of the rational part of your brain analyzing a different part of the swing. And if you try to make a connection, let's see, I gotta get back on plane somehow. How am I gonna do that? No way. Snap hook it off to the left. Your rational brain does not have time to send a communication down to the automatic part of your brain in time for it to actually do anything. So you just gotta kind of let it go. So that's something for you to think about too, because we operate in three different brains. Now, the interesting thing is the brain in the middle. We're going to talk about that for the most of it, what we're going to do here today. That's your emotional brain. Your emotional brain is the strongest part of your brain. It's the quickest to react. And think about that. When you hit a shot and it goes into the water, your first reaction is, darn, or something like that, right? And that emotional reaction to a shot, it could be good or bad, but that emotional reaction to a shot happens right away, doesn't it? Right? The analytical part of, boy, that was about 30 yards too short of where I wanted to hit it, that takes a little bit longer. But the emotional, slam the club down, or angry, or elation if you make a hole-in-one, something, that happens right away, doesn't it? And in fact, it's so strong, the emotional brain that we have is so strong, it can completely overwhelm your rational thought, can it? Think about that. So, boy, oh boy, when you have something, when you get really upset out there on the golf course, your capacity for rational thought starts to, right? So when the emotional brain takes over, it can completely overwhelm both your automatic function and your rational function. So just think about how that when you've reacted very strongly to something, right, you don't have as much physical control over yourself as you do when things are happening really, really well for you. Similarly, you don't think as well. You don't process as much information as well. So what does that mean? The best place for us to operate physically from an athletic standpoint is in what we call the mind of the imagination, the oldest part of the brain.